The Zorgan warfleet blasted the last Qatarian battlecruiser into molten slag. As Yaris watched the view screen in horrified silence, his single eye wide with shock at the carnage. He slammed his prosthetic fist on the console, cracking its frame, cursing in rage and despair. It was over. The Qatarians were finished and the galaxy would burn. Deep in an underground bunker on the war-ravaged Qatarian homeworld, the battle-scarred scientist Yaris sat hunched over a flickering monitor, his face illuminated by the sickly green glow. Across from him, the younger researcher Zoltan paced back and forth, his brow furrowed in thought. "The Zorgan Empire has destroyed our last line of defense," Yaris said, his voice heavy with defeat. "Our fleet is in ruins, our allies slaughtered. We've lost." Zoltan shook his head vigorously. "No, there has to be something we can do. We can't just give up and let the Zorgons enslave us like they did the Valtians and Quoronak. There must be a way." Yaris scoffed, gesturing at the screens showing the smouldering wreckage of Qatarian ships. "Look around you, Zoltan. We've thrown everything we have at them, and it wasn't enough. Our species is doomed." But Zoltan wasn't ready to concede. He leaned in, his eyes gleaming with a desperate hope. What about the legend? The ancient human fleet, hidden away, waiting for the galaxy's darkest hour. "That's a myth," Yaris said, waving his hand dismissively. "A bedtime story for children. There's no secret human fleet coming to save us." Zoltan pressed on, undeterred. "But I've been studying the ancient archives, decoding transmissions from the humans' lost era. I think I've found the coordinates, Yaris, the location of the fleet. If the legend is true—" Yaris stared at his young colleague, torn between skepticism and a faint glimmer of hope. If Zoltan was right, if the human fleet really existed, it could be their last chance. The only way to stop the Zorgans and save not just the Qatarians, but every free species in the galaxy. "Show me," Yaris said, his voice low and urgent. "Show me what you found, if there's even a chance, or we have to try. For the sake of everyone the Zorgons would destroy or enslave, for the sake of the galaxy itself. We have to find that fleet." Yaris and Zoltan set off on their perilous mission, their small ship darting through the void of space. They took a circuitous route, dodging Zorgon patrols and outposts, their hearts pounding with each close call. The journey seemed to stretch on for an eternity, the weight of their people's fate bearing down on them. As they approached the coordinates Zoltan had deciphered, Yaris turned to his companion, doubt etched on his battle-worn face. "Even if we find this fleet, what makes you think it'll still be operational after all these centuries? The humans have been gone for ages." Zoltan met his gaze, a fire burning in his eyes. The humans were known for their ingenuity and resilience. If anyone could build a fleet to withstand the test of time, it's them. We have to believe, Yaris. It's our only hope. But Zoltan stopped him, his eyes widening. "Wait, do you see that? There's a faint energy signature coming from the center of the field." Yaris checked the readings, and sure enough there was a glimmer of hope. They maneuvered their ship through the asteroids with painstaking care, each rock a potential end to their mission and their lives. As they approached the center of the field, their jaws dropped in unison. Hidden within the asteroids was a colossal structure, a sprawling shipyard that dwarfed anything they had ever seen. Its docks were filled with countless human vessels, each unique in size and design. Zoltan, equally amazed, pointed out the shipyard's pristine condition. "Look at the shielding technology. It's like nothing I've ever seen. The humans must have placed the fleet in stasis, preserving it for a future generation to reclaim." With cautious steps, Yaris and Zoltan ventured deeper into the ancient human shipyard, their hearts pounding with a mix of anticipation and trepidation. As they navigated the sprawling corridors, they found themselves standing before a set of massive doors, emblazoned with strange symbols and intricate patterns. Zoltan, his curiosity piqued, approached the doors and ran his fingers along the engravings. "These markings, they're like nothing I've ever seen before. The humans' language is so different from our own." Yaris, his combat instincts on high alert, scanned the surroundings for any signs of danger. "Be careful, Zoltan. We don't know what kind of defenses the humans might have left behind." With a hiss of compressed air, the doors slid open, revealing a vast chamber filled with advanced technology beyond their wildest dreams. Consoles lined the walls, their screens glowing with a soft, ethereal light. In the center of the room stood a towering holographic projector, its surface shimmering with untold potential. As Yaris kept watch, his weapon at the ready, a sudden flicker of light caught their attention. The holographic projector hummed to life, and a figure materialized before them. A tall, broad-shouldered human male, clad in a crisp military uniform. His eyes, stern yet compassionate, seemed to pierce through their very souls. "Greetings," the hologram spoke, his voice rich and commanding. "I am Admiral Daniel Allen, commander of the Lost Fleet. If you are seeing this message, then the galaxy must once again be in grave danger." Yaris, startled by the sudden appearance, instinctively raised his weapon. But Zoltan, his hand on Yaris's arm, quickly assured him, "It's okay, Yaris. It's just a pre-recorded message. He can't hurt us." Admiral Allen's hologram continued. "This fleet, hidden away for centuries, was created as a last resort, a fail-safe to protect the galaxy from an ancient threat known as the Void Reapers. These malevolent beings nearly destroyed all life eons ago, and we knew that they might one day return." Yaris, his brow furrowed, interjected, "But what about the Zorgons? They're the ones threatening us now. Can this fleet help us against them?" The Admiral's hologram smiled knowingly, as if anticipating the question. "The technology and weaponry of this fleet were designed to adapt to any threat, no matter how formidable. The Zorgons may be powerful, but they are no match for what lies within these ships." With a wave of his hand, Admiral Allen's hologram beckoned them forward. "Come, let me guide you through the process of awakening the fleet and preparing it for battle. Together, we will ensure that the galaxy remains free from tyranny and oppression." As Yaris and Zoltan followed the Admiral's holographic form deeper into the shipyard, they couldn't help but marvel at the expertise and leadership that shone through, even in this recorded message. The humans' legacy, it seemed, would be the key to their salvation, and the salvation of the entire galaxy. As Yaris and Zoltan pored over the schematics under Admiral Allen's watchful holographic gaze, their eyes widened in amazement at the sheer ingenuity of the human fleet's design. "Look at this, Yaris," Zoltan said, pointing to a section of the blueprints. "Each ship has its own self-sustaining biosphere, capable of supporting thousands of individuals for years on end." Yaris leaned in, studying the intricate details. Incredible. The humans thought of everything: food production, water recycling, even artificial gravity. They truly were a race of survivors, planning for every contingency. Admiral Allen's hologram nodded, a touch of pride in his voice. Indeed, these biospheres were designed to preserve not only human life but our culture, knowledge, and genetic diversity as well. In the event of a catastrophic galactic event, this fleet was meant to be a sanctuary, a place where humanity could rebuild and thrive no matter the circumstances. Zoltan turned to the Admiral, his brow furrowed. "But Admiral, if the fleet was so well equipped, why didn't your people use it during the Void Reaper invasion?" Hallen's hologram sighed, a flicker of pain crossing his features. "The Void Reapers struck with such speed and brutality that we had no choice but to hide the fleet and sacrifice ourselves to buy time for the rest of the galaxy to prepare. It was the only way to ensure that this technology would survive, that there would be hope for the future." Yaris, his voice thick with emotion, placed a hand on Zoltan's shoulder. "Your people's bravery and foresight may have just saved us all, Admiral. We won't let your sacrifice be in vain." As they delved deeper into the ship's systems, Zoltan marveled at the advanced medical facilities, the vast libraries of human knowledge, and the sophisticated manufacturing capabilities. With these resources, we could not only fight the Zorgons, but rebuild our shattered worlds in the aftermath, he said, his voice filled with growing hope. Yaris, his mind already racing with strategies and battle plans, added, "And with the fleet's adaptable weaponry, we might just stand a chance against the Zorgons' advanced technology." Admiral Allen's hologram smiled, a glimmer of determination in his eyes. "That's the spirit. Now let's get to work on bringing these ships back to life. The galaxy is counting on us. As the reactivation process neared completion, Yaris and Zoltan ventured deeper into the heart of the ancient human shipyard. They navigated through winding corridors and dimly lit passageways, their footsteps echoing off the metallic walls. Suddenly, they stumbled upon a hidden chamber, its entrance concealed behind a panel that had seamlessly blended into the wall. With a hiss of compressed air, the panel slid open, revealing a vast room filled with rows upon rows of stasis pods. The two Qatarians stepped inside, their eyes widening in astonishment as they took in the sight before them. Each pod contained a human, suspended in cryogenic sleep, their faces serene and untroubled. Zoltan approached one of the pods, his hand trembling slightly as he wiped away the condensation that had formed on the glass. He peered at the human within, marveling at their peaceful expression. "By the stars, Yaris," he whispered, his voice filled with awe. "The humans didn't just leave behind their ships, they left behind their people." Yaris joined his companion, equally shocked by the discovery. He studied the readouts on the pod's display, noting the stable, vital signs of the human inside. But why would they put themselves in stasis? He wondered aloud, his brow furrowed in confusion. Wouldn't they have been more useful fighting alongside their fleet? As if on cue, Admiral Allen's hologram materialized beside them, his presence casting a soft glow throughout the chamber. "These individuals," he began, his voice filled with pride, "were the best and brightest of their generation, scientists, engineers, leaders, each one hand-picked for their expertise and their potential to rebuild human civilization once the Void Reaper threat had passed." The Admiral's hologram paced along the rows of stasis pods, his gaze lingering on the faces of his slumbering comrades. The plan was for the fleet's AI to awaken them, when it was safe to do so, when the galaxy had been freed from the Void Reaper's grasp. But something must have gone wrong, causing them to remain in stasis for far longer than we ever intended. Zoltan, his voice filled with admiration, said, "They really did think of everything. Not only did they leave behind their technology, but also their knowledge and expertise, preserved through the ages." Yaris nodded in agreement, a glimmer of hope in his eye. "And now, with the fleet nearly ready and these brilliant minds on our side, we may finally have the edge we need to defeat the Zorgons and save the galaxy." Admiral Allen's hologram smiled proudly, his eyes shining with a fierce determination. "The humans of old may be gone, but their legacy lives on through these brave individuals. Together, we will ensure that their sacrifice was not in vain. We will awaken them, and with their help we will bring an end to the Zorgon threat and restore peace to the galaxy." Yaris and Zoltan exchanged a look of renewed purpose, their hearts swelling with the knowledge that they were not alone in their fight. The humans, even in their long slumber, had once again proven themselves to be the galaxy's greatest hope. As they set to work on the final preparations for the fleet's awakening, they could almost feel the presence of those brave souls, ready to stand beside them in the battles to come. As the hustle and bustle of the awakened human fleet filled the once dormant shipyard, Yaris and Zoltan huddled around a holographic display, their faces illuminated by the soft blue glow. They pored over star maps and strategic diagrams, searching for the best way to strike at the heart of the Zorgon Empire. "We'll need allies," Yaris muttered, his brow furrowed in concentration. "The Valchians and Quarnak may have been subjugated, but there are still pockets of resistance scattered throughout their systems." Zoltan nodded, his fingers dancing across the display as he highlighted potential targets. "If we can coordinate our efforts with theirs, we might be able to catch the Zorgons off guard. They won't expect a unified front." Just then a young human scientist named Isaac strode into the room, his eyes alight with excitement. "Sorry to interrupt," he said, "but I couldn't help overhearing your discussion. I think I may have some information that could help." Yaris and Zoltan exchanged a curious glance before motioning for Isaac to join them. The human scientist eagerly stepped forward, his hands gesturing animatedly as he spoke. "You see, each of our ships is equipped with an incredibly advanced AI system," Isaac explained. "These AIs are capable of adapting to any combat situation, learning from past encounters to develop new strategies on the fly." Zoltan's eyes widened in amazement. It's no wonder the humans were able to hold their own against the Void Reapers. Your ships are not just vessels, but intelligent beings in their own right. Isaac grinned, his pride in his ancestors' achievements evident. That's not all, he said, lowering his voice conspiratorially. We also have a secret weapon, something so powerful that it was only to be used in the direst of circumstances. Yaris leaned in, his interest piqued. What kind of weapon? He asked, his voice a mix of curiosity and trepidation. We call it the Singularity Cannon, Isaac revealed, his eyes gleaming with excitement. It's a device capable of creating miniature black holes that can tear through enemy ships like tissue paper. Yaris and Zoltan both recoiled slightly, awe and fear written across their faces. The humans truly were masters of innovation, Yaris breathed. To harness the power of a singularity itself, it's almost unthinkable. Isaac nodded, a hint of solemnity in his expression. Our ancestors knew that in order to protect the galaxy, they needed to push the boundaries of what was possible. The Singularity Cannon is a testament to their determination and ingenuity. Zoltan, his mind racing with the possibilities, added, and now with this technology at our disposal, we may finally have the means to put an end to the Zorgon threat, once and for all. As the strategy session drew to a close, the doors to the room hissed open, revealing a grizzled, battle-scarred human striding purposefully into the chamber. The man's presence commanded instant respect, his steely gaze sweeping over the gathered group before settling on Yaris and Zoltan. Yaris and Zoltan exchanged a glance, their eyes widening in recognition. Commander Jameson was a legend among the human fleet, a veteran of countless battles against the Void Reapers. His tactical brilliance and unwavering courage had turned the tide of many a desperate fight. Isaac, grinning from ear to ear, stepped forward to clasp Jameson's hand in a firm shake. Commander, it's an honor to have you with us. Your experience and leadership will be invaluable in the coming battle. Jameson nodded, a hint of a smile tugging at the corners of his mouth. Appreciate the warm welcome, son. Now let's get down to brass tacks. What's the plan for taking on these Zorgon pricks? As Yaris and Zoltan began to outline their strategy, detailing the fleet's advanced weaponry and the Zorgon's potential weaknesses, Jameson listened intently, his brow furrowed in concentration. He absorbed every detail, his mind already whirring with possibilities and contingencies. After a moment, Jameson held up a hand, silencing the room. I appreciate the faith you have in our technology, he said, his voice measured but firm. But let me tell you something about human ingenuity. It's not just about the ships or the weapons. It's about the spirit of our people. Jameson paused, letting the weight of his words sink in. But we had something the Reapers didn't. We had guts, determination, and the ability to think on our feet. We managed to sabotage their central power core, crippling their defenses and turning the tide of the battle. Yaris, his eyes wide with newfound understanding, nodded slowly. You're right, Commander. The humans' greatest strength lies in their indomitable will and adaptability. That's something the Zorgons, for all their might, lack. Zoltan, his voice filled with renewed conviction, added, We've been so focused on the hardware that we almost forgot about the human factor. It's the combination of both that will give us the edge we need. Isaac, his smile widening, chimed in, and with Commander Jameson leading the charge, I have no doubt that we'll show the Zorgons just what human spirit can achieve. Jameson, a glint of determination in his eye, brought his fist down on the table, the sound echoing through the room. Together, with the might of the human fleet and the courage of our allies, we'll send those Zorgon bastards running back to the hole they crawled out of. As the group erupted into a chorus of cheers and applause, Yaris and Zoltan exchanged a look of pure, unadulterated hope. With Commander Jameson at their side, and the full might of the human fleet behind them, they knew that victory was finally within reach. Commander, Yaris said, his voice filled with newfound respect, your words have inspired us all. The Zorgons may have superior numbers and firepower, But they lack the one thing that truly matters, the unbreakable spirit of those who fight for what is right. Zoltan, his eyes shining with anticipation, added, "And with your guidance and expertise, we'll make sure that every member of this alliance, from the Ktarians to the humans, fights with that same spirit coursing through their veins." Jameson, a wry grin spreading across his face, clapped both Yaris and Zoltan on the shoulders. "That's the attitude, boys. We're not just fighting for ourselves. We're fighting for every race the Zorgons have ever oppressed or threatened. We're fighting for the very soul of this galaxy." He turned to face the rest of the group, his voice ringing out with the clarity of a war horn. "And when we're through, the Zorgons will learn the true meaning of fear. They'll learn what it means to face an enemy that doesn't know the meaning of surrender, that will fight to the last breath to defend what they hold dear." As the strategy session resumed, the air crackling with a newfound sense of purpose and determination, Yaris and Zoltan knew that they were witnessing something truly special. The birth of an alliance forged not just in the fires of war, but in the unbreakable bonds of shared courage and sacrifice. And with Commander Jameson at the helm, they knew that no matter what challenges lay ahead, no matter how desperate the odds, they would face them head-on, united in their resolve to see the galaxy free from the Zorgon menace once and for all. As the human fleet, newly awakened from its long slumber, hurtled through the stars towards Zorgon territory, Yaris and Zoltan found themselves in the company of Alexander, a human diplomat who had been frozen alongside the other survivors. The three sat in a small, dimly lit conference room, the hum of the ship's engines a constant backdrop to their conversation. Alexander, a tall man with a serene demeanor and a voice that seemed to command attention, leaned forward, his elbows resting on the table. "Unity and cooperation," he began, his eyes locking with those of the two Ktarians, "are the keys to overcoming any adversity, no matter how great." Zoltan, his brow furrowed in curiosity, asked, "But how did you manage it, Alexander? How did humanity forge alliances with other races during the Void Reaper War, despite the centuries of mistrust and conflict that had come before?" A smile played at the corners of Alexander's mouth as he replied, "It wasn't easy, Zoltan. There were times when it seemed impossible, when the wounds of the past seemed too deep to heal. But we realized that the only way to survive was to put aside our grievances and work together." He paused, his gaze distant as if lost in memory. "We learned to appreciate the strengths of our allies, to see beyond our differences and recognize the common threads that bound us together. The Valtians, for example, were unparalleled in their mastery of stealth technology, while the Quarnak were experts in deciphering enemy communications." Yaris, his voice tinged with admiration, said, "It must have taken a great deal of wisdom and patience to bring such disparate races together." Alexander nodded, his expression thoughtful. "It did. But more than that, it took a willingness to listen, to understand, and to empathize with one another. We didn't just fight side by side. We lived and worked together, learning from each other's cultures and experiences." He leaned back in his chair, his hands clasped before him. "I remember one particular mission, where a team of humans and Valtians were tasked with infiltrating a Void Reaper stronghold. The Valtians' cloaking devices allowed us to slip past the enemy's defenses, while the humans' expertise in hand-to-hand combat proved invaluable once we were inside." Zoltan, his eyes wide with fascination, asked, "And did you succeed?" Alexander's smile widened. "We did. But more than that, we forged a bond that would last a lifetime. The Valtian commander, a fierce warrior named Zara, became one of my closest friends. We learned to trust each other implicitly, to anticipate each other's moves and thoughts." Yaris, his voice filled with respect, said, "It seems that the humans were not only skilled in warfare, but also in diplomacy. Your ability to bring people together is truly remarkable, Alexander." The human diplomat inclined his head in acknowledgement, a hint of pride in his eyes. "It's a skill that served us well, not just in times of war, but in times of peace as well. By fostering strong, mutually beneficial relationships with our allies, we were able to create a more stable and prosperous galaxy." Zoltan, his expression thoughtful, said, And that's precisely what we need right now, isn't it? The strength that comes from unity and cooperation. With the human fleet and our allies standing together, the Zorgans won't stand a chance. Alexander's gaze hardened, a flicker of determination in his eyes. You're right, Zoltan. We face a formidable enemy, one that seeks to subjugate and destroy all that we hold dear. But together, with the might of our combined forces and the unbreakable bonds of friendship and trust, we will prevail. The room fell silent for a moment, each of them lost in their own thoughts, the weight of the task ahead settling heavily upon their shoulders. Yet as the weight of their monumental task settled upon their shoulders, a flicker of hope began to dance in the eyes of the two Katarians. Dr. Nakamura, her voice steady with conviction, broke the silence. "There's more," she said, her gaze locking with Yaris and Zoltan. "The enhancements we discovered in the human survivors' medical records, they're not just a one-time boost. They're designed to be hereditary." Yaris, his brow furrowed in a mix of surprise and confusion, leaned forward. "Hereditary? You mean these enhancements can be passed down to future generations?" Dr. Nakamura nodded, a smile playing at the corners of her mouth. "Precisely. The humans, in their infinite wisdom, engineered these enhancements to become a part of their genetic legacy. They wanted to ensure that their descendants, no matter how far into the future, would possess the same resilience and adaptability that they themselves had been granted." Zoltan, his voice tinged with awe, chimed in. "So not only did they leave behind their technology and knowledge, but they also gifted their future generations with the tools to thrive in any environment, against any odds. The humans, they truly thought of everything." Admiral Allen's hologram, his expression a mix of pride and solemnity, added, "It was a difficult decision, one that weighed heavily on our minds. We knew that the future held no guarantees, that the challenges our descendants might face could be beyond anything we could imagine. But we also knew that we had a responsibility, not just to ourselves, but to the generations that would come after us." He paused, his gaze distant, as if lost in a memory. "We wanted to give them every possible advantage, every tool we could to ensure their survival and success. The genetic enhancements were our way of passing the torch, of ensuring that the flame of human resilience would never be extinguished." Yaris, his voice filled with a newfound respect, said, "Your people's foresight and selflessness, it's truly humbling. To think that even in the face of your own uncertain future, you were thinking of those who would come after you, ensuring their well-being and prosperity." Dr. Nakamura, her eyes shining with excitement, continued, "And now with these enhancements coursing through the veins of the human survivors and the potential for them to be passed down to future generations, we have an even greater chance of not just defeating the Zorgans, but of building a better future for all the races of the galaxy." Zoltan, his voice filled with determination, concluded, "With the advanced technology of the human fleet, the wisdom of their diplomatic legacy, and the unbreakable spirit of their genetically enhanced descendants, we stand on the precipice of a new era. An era of unity, of cooperation, and of hope for all the peoples of the galaxy." As the weight of their words settled upon the room, Yaris and Zoltan exchanged a glance, their hearts swelling with a newfound sense of purpose. The humans, even in their long slumber, had once again proven themselves to be the guardians of the galaxy's future, the beacons of hope in the face of even the darkest of threats. And with that knowledge, that unshakable faith in the resilience and ingenuity of their newfound allies, the two Katarians prepared themselves for the battle to come, ready to stand shoulder to shoulder with the humans and their descendants, ready to fight for the future they all deserved. Dr. Nakamura, her voice filled with a quiet intensity, broke the silence once more. "There's one more thing," she said, her eyes darting between Yaris, Zoltan, and Admiral Allen's hologram. "The enhancements, they don't just affect physical attributes. They also have the potential to boost cognitive function, to enhance problem-solving skills and creativity." Yaris, his eyebrows raised in surprise, asked, "You mean the human survivors? They could be even more intelligent than their ancestors?" Dr. Nakamura nodded, a hint of pride in her voice. "Yes, that's exactly what I mean. The genetic modifications were designed to optimize both body and mind, to create individuals who could adapt to any situation, both physically and mentally. Admiral Allen's hologram, a smile playing at the corners of his mouth, added, "It was our hope that by enhancing both the physical and cognitive capabilities of our descendants, we would be giving them the best possible chance of not just surviving, but thriving in the face of any challenge they might encounter." Zoltan, his mind racing with the implications, said, "So not only will the human survivors be able to withstand the rigors of battle and the harshness of unknown environments, but they'll also be able to outthink and outmaneuver our enemies. They'll be able to devise strategies and solutions that we might never have considered." Yaris, his voice filled with a newfound sense of awe, concluded, "With these enhancements, the human survivors will be more than just soldiers or pioneers. They'll be the innovators, the problem solvers, the ones who will lead us into a brighter future." Dr. Nakamura, her eyes shining with excitement, nodded in agreement, and with each generation, as these enhancements are passed down and potentially even further optimized, the capacity for human ingenuity and adaptability will only grow. The potential for what they might achieve, for the wonders they might create, is truly limitless. As the conversation lulled, each of them lost in their own thoughts of the marvels that the future might hold, Yaris and Zoltan felt a renewed sense of hope blossoming within their chests. The humans, it seemed, had not just left behind a legacy of technology and knowledge, but a legacy of boundless potential, of minds and bodies honed to perfection, ready to tackle any obstacle that might stand in their way. And with that potential at their side, the two Qatarians knew that no matter how daunting the challenges ahead might seem, no matter how powerful the Zorgon threat might be, they would face them head-on, secure in the knowledge that the future of the galaxy was in the hands of a species that had long ago mastered the art of turning the impossible into the inevitable. As the smoke cleared and the dust settled, Yaris and Zoltan stood amidst the shattered remnants of the once mighty human fleet. The Allied forces had triumphed over the Zorgons, but the victory had come at a terrible price. The wreckage of human ships, their hulls torn and scorched, lay strewn across the battlefield like fallen giants. Dr. Nakamura picked her way through the debris, her footsteps heavy with the weight of loss. She approached the two Qatarians, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. "We've lost so much," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "Admiral Allen, Commander Jameson, so many brave souls gave their lives to secure our freedom." Yaris bowed his head, his heart aching for the fallen. "They were the bravest beings I've ever known," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "They fought not just for themselves, but for all of us, even those who had never heard of Earth or humanity." Zoltan, his gaze fixed on the shattered remains of a human battleship, nodded solemnly. "And in the end, they taught us the true meaning of sacrifice and unity," he said. "They showed us that even in the darkest of times, hope can be found if we stand together." Dr. Nakamura reached out, placing a comforting hand on Zoltan's shoulder. "Their legacy lives on," she said, a single tear rolling down her cheek. "Not just in the technology they left behind, but in the bonds they forged between our peoples. We must honor their memory by continuing their work, by striving for a galaxy where all races can coexist peacefully." Yaris, his resolve strengthening with each passing moment, met Dr. Nakamura's gaze. "The humans may be gone, but their spirit endures," he said, his voice ringing with conviction. "We will tell their stories, ensuring that future generations remember the incredible beings who gave everything to save us all." As the three stood amidst the ruins, a bittersweet sense of victory and loss hanging in the air, they knew that the galaxy would never be the same. The human fleet, once a symbol of hope and defiance, now served as a reminder of the incredible sacrifices made in the name of freedom and unity. Zoltan, his voice heavy with emotion, turned to his companions. "I never thought I'd live to see the day when the Zorgons were defeated," he said, his eyes distant. "For so long, they seemed like an unstoppable force, a darkness that would consume us all." Yaris nodded, his own memories of the Zorgon threat still fresh in his mind. I remember the day they attacked our homeworld, he said, his voice barely above a whisper. The sky turned black with their ships, and the ground shook with the force of their weapons. I thought it was the end of everything. Zoltan, his admiration for the humans evident in his voice, added, I'll never forget the sight of Admiral Allen's flagship, the Valiant, leading the charge against the Zorgan mothership. It was like something out of a legend, a tale of heroes and impossible odds. Yaris, his heart swelling with gratitude, turned to Dr. Nakamura. And then there was Commander Jameson, he said, his voice filled with reverence. The way he rallied the troops, the way he never gave up, even when all seemed lost. He was an inspiration to us all. Dr. Nakamura, a sad smile playing at the corners of her mouth, nodded in agreement. They were all heroes, she said, her gaze sweeping over the wreckage of the human fleet. Every last one of them. They gave their lives so that we might live, so that the galaxy might know peace. As the three stood in silence, each lost in their own thoughts and memories, a gentle breeze began to blow across the battlefield, carrying with it the echoes of the fallen. In that moment, Yaris, Zoltan, and Dr. Nakamura knew that the sacrifices of the humans would never be forgotten, that their legacy would endure long after the last of their ships had turned to dust. You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.